you, Brian. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to beautiful Summerside City Hall on what has been a gorgeous day. We're lucky with this September so far. So I'd like to call to order a monthly council meeting here in the city of Summerside for September 16th, 2024 at 6:32 p.m. We'll begin with the approval of the agenda. Just a quick note, a small amendment to the agenda. We're going to strike item 4A, which is the Community Services Department overview, and move that to our next council meeting. So I'll call for a motion from council to approve the agenda as presented. Councillor Adams, second. Councillor Duran. All in favor of the agenda as presented and amended, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we will continue. We begin each one of our meetings here at the City of Summerside by acknowledging that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory. Abagway is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. We pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people who have occupied this island for over 12,000 years, past, present, and future. At this point, I'll ask any member of council to declare a conflict of interest with respect to any item on the agenda before us this evening. And hearing none, we'll tick right along. Section 1 is done. We're moving quick. We'll move on to item 2, which is minutes. We'll call for a mover and seconder for the following meeting minutes. Approval of the August 19th, 2024 monthly council meeting minutes and the September 3rd, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Councillor McColman, second. Councillor Snow. All in favor of the minutes as presented in the package, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed or changes? Hearing none, those minutes are adopted. At this point, we move on to item 3, which is accolades and recognitions. Opportunity for any member of council to bring forward any accolades, recognitions they want to make in the community from between now and our last meeting. All right, none tonight. We are going to get out of here maybe in record time. We'll see what happens. As I said, item 4A is off. Community Services Department overview. That is being postponed. And the next public presentation is a continuation of a discussion that was at our last council meeting, and Councillor McColman impressed upon me today the importance of trying to explain where we're at in this process, because policymaking and public policymaking is not always linear or smooth or easy. So at our last council meeting, council tabled a resolution to vote on the Housing Accelerator Fund package that was before them, and tabling means to delay a vote. When a tabling motion is made, then council, by its own laws and requirements, its own procedure, can't talk about it anymore. It's a table happens and it's off until the next time council meets. And so we couldn't talk about the reasons for the tabling. One of the reasons for the tabling is council wanted to explore additional changes and options and adjustments that have been possible. So that is where we queue up tonight. We'll have a presentation on some further changes and proposed changes that would amend the package that was brought forth before. The next steps as well. Certainly, we experienced this before as council in terms of trying to make sure that we engage and have good public outreach and discourse that goes both ways, that we make sure that people know that they're being listened to, and also that we provide the opportunity for people to provide feedback. With this whole project, again, basically our rules, the way it works here is that when a package like this comes forward, it would come straight to council, and then that's when the public get to come up with the microphone and say their concerns. We had, as a council, gone through some of this before and thought, geez, that doesn't really put the members of the public in a very good spot. The first time they see it, you're supposed to immediately react to it, and you don't have any more opportunity to think about it or reflect on it or engage. So when this proposal came forward, we had an open house before it came to council to try and share the information at that time. Then it came to council, and we had our planning board, and we had 6 further open houses. I was at all of them, and we had our planner there as well to answer questions and get feedback from members of the public. But again, we sort of got to this stage where we know a lot of people want to have their say, not just by email, but want to stand up or be able to speak directly and say what their concerns are, and that's really important to us. So what council decided to do next was to add also another public meeting on the 26th of September. And at that meeting, there'll be the opportunity as well to stand up, share your comments or concerns, or listen to those of other residents, where there are questions of, we sort of say, of technical nature. But if you have questions about the package, council ultimately is not the expert on every line of policy, but we'll make sure to have our entire technical services, which was planning department there, and anyone else who is necessary to answer specific questions. And then council will also be there to listen and receive your input and have conversations. So that is our next step on the 26th. A few times, I think, again, having been a lawyer, do follow rules and procedures, and it's really important for me as the mayor, which is basically the chair of these meetings, to follow the rules and procedures that are in place. So my apologies to people to some degree that if it feels like sometimes we're cutting off debate or not having, providing enough opportunity for feedback, that goes to the rules, not the desire to not have that happen. So we're trying to find a path to make sure that we provide the opportunity to let people know that they are being listened to. And I think council has had its ears open and its eyes open, and the process sort of continues. So I hope that explains where we're at. This evening will be a presentation, as I said, on some of the proposed changes to the zoning bylaw and the official plan. We will talk about those. Council will have the chance to ask questions to the presenters, and then on the 26th, we'll have our open meeting where then you can take this away as well, take these packages, and have come back and ask additional questions and share thoughts. I will say, at any council meeting, at any time, for any meeting, at any point in time, anyone can get up to the microphone and stand up and ask to address council. And then that, on each instance, then council has a vote. Council votes to decide yea or nay. And then once council votes yea or nay, then the chair has to impose a time limit. So what we're really trying to do is, by adding the 26th, to be able to do that in a less formal manner. I have to have every vote for everyone to come up and speak, but that always remains an option to anybody at any meeting at any time. With that, I hope I've given a summary of where we are. So tonight we'll get some proposed changes on the 26th, which is at the Credit Union Place at 6 p.m. Am I right on the time? At 6 p.m. We'll have the mic, and council will all be there. I don't know if Councillor Snow, I think you're traveling, and Councillor McDougall is away for FCM meetings tonight in Ottawa. We'll also be there. So this is all part of the process and all part of making sure that as we go about making changes and exploring changes and considering proposals, that we do so in a way that engages and makes sure that people know that their voices are being heard, that they're being listened to, and that there's an opportunity for good public discourse, because that is what I think we all want in our community. So that is my summary tonight. I was hoping to get us out of here as quick as possible, but we'll see how it goes. So Janice, are you up sharing the proposed changes? So we're just going to focus, I think, tonight on the changes, but on the 26th, we'll probably have a bit of the overview again that includes these.
Thank you. Thank you for setting the context, and I thought because not every, I know council has heard many of these comments many times before, but I just wanted to reiterate that these proposed changes actually go back to the East-West Corridor and the secondary plan, which dates back to 2008. So the secondary plan for the East-West Corridor, which is currently under construction, was created in 2008. And a big part of the changes that are going to be proposed, and if you look at the slide that's up on the screen, this shows the changes that are proposed to deal with the East-West Corridor. So the official plan Just to go back to history a little bit, so there was the East-West Corridor Plan from 2008, and then, of course, the Mayor's Task Force, which dated to 2023, and there were a number of recommendations for attainable housing that came out of that task force at the end of 2023, and it so happened that the HALF program application was happening at the same time. So in December of 2023, the city signed a contract with CMHC and approved 14 initiatives. And we're looking at a number of changes to the official plan and bylaw to address those initiatives. And a number of those initiatives, it should be noted, are directly consistent with recommendations from the Task Force on Attainable Housing. The first change that we're going to look at is changes from what was an east-west corridor and what will be, under the new official plan and bylaw, a comprehensive development area. And this is before us right now, and what we have in the comprehensive development area are 3 districts. So the District 1 is a connector node, and that would include commercial, institutional, and mixed commercial residential uses. And that happens where there are basically major intersections. So I don't know if I have to scroll. Oops, sorry, sorry. It's fast. Yeah, I'm just trying to blow it up so people can see it. Okay, so so we have 2 intersections basically, and so District 1 is a connector node, and District 2 is a connector corridor. And what we're looking at in the corridor is residential uses, primarily multi-unit, and institutional uses, as well as mixed commercial and residential. And then in District 3, this is where we've made changes since the beginning of this process a number of months ago. In District 3, basically, we're looking at R3 uses only. And I think that's the focus for this CDA zone. And I would ask that we don't really pay attention to the exceptions, because that's somewhat confusing. But what's important to note at this point in time, for the purposes of this meeting, is that a new District 3, has been proposed, and that is basically to address transition between existing lower density developed neighborhoods and potential for new development. And basically, we're looking at R3 uses only in District 3 and a maximum height of 3.5 stories. So there is no change to the maximum height. R3 use is a maximum height of 3.5 stories. Now I'm going to try to go really slowly here. Oops. Okay, and now this next slide is, okay, so this next slide is basically an updated flyer that we had used in the very early public meetings, and there's a lot of information that's contained within this slide. But if you'll note the blue in the middle, that basically notes that the East-West Connector Plan goes back to 2008. We have the Mayor's Task Force, we have the Housing Accelerator Fund approval, and then we have the official plan and new bylaw amendments. And that's what we're looking at right now. And then, of course, in future, we'll have future phases of Housing Accelerator Fund. In the red down below, the printing isn't so clear, I can see on the screen, but that basically covers the slide that we just looked at. And I just want to point to the top left-hand corner. So under the official plan, we have policy changes, and the policy changes in the official plan, which is more general, are basically updates to enable new housing options to integrate the East-West corridor. And on the official plan map, which is the future land use map, the future land use map will be amended to show the CDA designation to the new East-West corridor. So very minimal changes, but they are replacing what was the East-West corridor, and that old plan will be repealed. So it's going, and we're putting a new zone and a new area in place. And then if you look to the right side of the flyer, or the middle of the flyer, we see this is in national context. So we have across the country, there are housing issues, and we are looking at how to promote housing supply, housing variety, and affordability. And across the country, municipalities are updating their official plan and zoning bylaw, essentially their land use planning documents, to accommodate more housing faster and more options, or variety of options. And if you look at the very right of the top, the flyer states that the CMHC requirements are to legalize 4 units as of right citywide. We'll get into those details in a few minutes. To eliminate exclusionary zoning or single-use zoning only, to permit accessory dwelling units such as garden suites or secondary suites, and close to Holland College, to allow four-story buildings within 500 meters of Holland College. I'm going to try to slide this down a little bit. Okay, so this is where we're going to get into. So this flyer, the bottom of this flyer, sorry, would it be any easier if there we go. Okay, so this is a little busy, and I'm just going to very quickly state that other changes, such as widespread edits and new approaches, are contained within the bylaw, but I understand that people are especially interested in some specific statements, so tonight we're going to focus on those. And in order to do that, I am going to go to the next slide, which is clearer, I think. And this, I think, is the meat of what we're looking at tonight. So for attached housing, we are looking at, in the R1 and R2 zone, a maximum building height of 34.4 feet, so that has not changed. What we're looking at are the uses permitted within the R1 and R2 zone. So as you can see, single units are permitted, 2 units in the form of semi-detached or duplex are permitted, 3-unit townhouses are permitted, 3-unit row houses are permitted, 4-unit townhouses, 4-unit row houses, but not 3-unit apartments and not 4-unit apartments. So no apartments in the R1 and R2 zone, but other options are available. In the R3R zone, similarly, the maximum height is 34.4 feet, and more uses are permitted, including apartments. And then if we go down to the R3 zone, there are no major changes from the last round of comments, except that 6 units, so we still have the same height, no changes from the original bylaw, no changes from earlier iterations, maximum height of 34.4 feet. Permitted uses, you can see on the graphic, up to 6 units as of right in the R3 zone. And in the R4 zone, we have a maximum story which is higher, so maximum height of 6 stories or taller, where approved by council. And as you can see, 2 units, 1 unit, infill only in the R4, 2 units, 3 units, 4 units, 6 units, and more where approved, where it can fit. So also to note, over on the side, we have in the R1, R2, R3, and R4 zone, we have secondary units are permitted, and garden suites are also permitted on the lot. I don't, these are the changes that were discussed since the last meeting that we had. So the major change is basically a clarification that secondary suites and garden suites are permitted. And the major change, to reiterate again, is in the R1 and R2 zone, apartments are not permitted, but up to 4 units in other forms would be permitted. All other uses are shown as permitted, including modifications over time. So it's envisioned that these changes to the bylaw would allow for changes over time. And in the R3R zone, again, the maximum height is 34.4 feet in height, and up to 4-unit apartments plus other forms of semi-detached duplex, townhouse, and row houses would be permitted. In a nutshell, that's it. I can simplify, like more detail, less detail.
Great. Thank you, Janice. Now, I think we'll open the floor to comments from council. For members of the public, the first time this presentation occurred with the overall, we were an hour and a half in the presentation. I think the second and third time were about 40 and 30 minutes. So now we're really down into certain specifics. And so, as I said, when we come on the 26th, we'll try and do an overview. I don't want to spend an hour and a half on the 26th. We've gone through all of that. But now we're really down into a focus point, so that's why we're here for.
Right.
Thank you for
We're
the shorter
essentially down a rabbit
presentation.
hole. We're down a rabbit hole.
Yeah, and that's how it works.
Yeah.
So we'll go to council. I'll start with Councillor Snow, and then I'll go to Councillor Duran, and then we'll just pick as lights go on. Councillor Snow?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So, a couple things. Unfortunately, I will not be there on the 26th. Believe me, I really wish I could be there, but anybody, I have a brother that was in a very bad accident west, and I have to head to Vancouver. So, believe me, I'd much rather be here and that not have happened. But so, my apologies. I am going to follow along. I am very interested, as I have been the whole time, on the feelings of the public and questions and concerns, and having those discussions with the public. So, yeah, I just wanted to make that statement. You had mentioned the height has not changed.
Right.
But I just want to clarify that 34.4 feet is what currently is allowed
Exactly.
as we sit today without any changes. So any height restrictions currently is 34.4, so we're not increasing that height.
No, and to avoid confusion, the height will be increased within, potential for height within 500 meters of Holland College only, which is essentially in the downtown zone. So where R1, R2, and R3 zones are in effect, no height changes, with the exception that if something would fall within 500 meters of Holland College, they're allowed up to four stories. And 34.4 feet is 3.5 stories. Yeah.
But that's what's currently allowed. if
Yeah,
you-
yeah. So no change from the current.
Okay.
Yeah. Good question.
All of this just to say I was just going to make the exact same clarification, confirmation that about the height that is current. So I was just going to make the exact same point. That's why I turned the light off and then had to figure out how to turn it back on. Can't turn it off.
Okay. Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, I just have a few questions. So September 26th will be the day where anybody can come and ask questions. So Janice, will you be there as well as staff? Or
I will be there,
Okay.
and another We6 representative, Samantha
Yeah.
Murphy will be there. But at this point in time, what we're doing is technical, we're just technical advisors that
Yep.
are explaining how it
Yep.
could work,
Yep.
how it could be interpreted, how it could work. That's our
Perfect.
role.
Okay. People had just asked if, and we were told earlier staff would be there, but I just wanted to make sure too, because you've been along for the whole thing, so, and I didn't mean just you, I meant like we six
Yeah, yeah.
as a group. Also, this handout, this little part right here, is there any way that we can make copies for people that are here tonight to take with them, just so they can have it? Because then I'm thinking they might want to come back, look at it, get their questions and comments or suggestions ready, and then on the 26th, they can come and be prepared with their questions, and they'd have the material, rather than just in case somebody got the wrong one from previously, at least we'd make sure that this was the one we gave them. And so, I mean, I can go make copies if I can get a copy of it. Is that all right? Or we're okay to? Yeah.
It's in the
It's in
meeting.
the meeting package?
It's in the meeting
Okay.
package, yeah.
Okay, so anyways, I'll go make some copies when we're done with this, but it's just in our little package for everybody.
So
plus-
you're
plus it's
talking
online.
about the proposed, the attached housing option,
This one.
that one,
Yeah,
yes.
It's in color up there, but
Yeah.
we're in black and white. Okay, so, and then the other question I had was covenants. So if it's an existing subdivision that already has covenants, how does that go? Like, and also, which weighs the other, and also, can covenants be added in a subdivision after it's already established?
So municipal authority or municipal jurisdiction does not address covenants. Covenants are private. This is a lawyer question, not a planner question. You know that.
Yeah, Janice, do you
With
want
all
me?
due respect to the chair.
Want me to?
With all due respect to the chair.
Yeah, Janice, maybe I'll answer that one
Yes.
if you want. Yeah, so covenants are private agreements between landowners, and they're not, the municipality really has nothing to do with them. That said, they're also enforceable between landowners privately, right? So, yeah. So which takes precedence? That's a great question. Courts have upheld private covenants in lots of situations as long as they're reasonable. Maybe the crux of the question is if a street had, and all the landowners on the streets had signed a covenant that said, we only want X on our street and that's all that's allowed, all those private landowners would be bound by those covenants. And just because the municipal bylaw allowed something else, the contract that the landowners had with each other, which would be the covenant, would be enforceable. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Gordon, just to follow up on that, are you saying, but that would require all, and just use that street analogy, all residents on that street to then agree with those covenants? Do you know,
Whoever-
so everybody would have to legally agree on that street? So if you had five
If there
houses of the,
was 8 properties on a street
Yeah.
and 7 properties all agreed with a certain covenant, then those 7 properties and 7 property owners would be able to enforce that covenant against each other.
But
Your
not
worship-
against-
Your worship, jump in if I'm,
not
if
against,
I'm missing anything, but
no, I guess that's my question, but not against the 8th property that
Correct.
would say,
I didn't sign the
I didn't
covenant.
sign it, so
I
then-
didn't agree to those, to be bound by those rules, but
Okay, that just came up as a question
It sounds like a
to me,
quick
so I said I would ask, so.
But if an entire neighborhood decided they wanted all to bind themselves and sign legal agreements with each other, they would be free to do so, and then they would be free to enforce those against each other at their own cost down the road.
They would also run with the land, right? So that would be attached to the land, to the property, so the covenant wouldn't be extinguished on the sale of a property, it would run with the land. Also, in law, anyone could apply to a court for a covenant to be removed, right? So say the covenant was ridiculous, that you had to have a 30-foot Christmas tree on your front lawn, and Christmas trees were no longer growing to 30 feet, well, you could do it for whatever you want, you could go, but you would have to go to a court to have it removed.
Okay.
Generally, courts don't like restrictions on the transfer of private property, but it's a contract
Yep.
between individuals.
Okay, interesting, thank you.
Any other questions here from council? I just have one quick question, Janice. It's sort of high level. Can you explain what missing middle housing is and why it is raised as being really important?
So missing middle housing refers to something in between single detached dwellings and multi-unit apartment buildings. And there are a few different definitions floating around, but missing middle generally points to a four units or so, and often refers to ground level entry or individual front doors that can be accessed from the street, as opposed to an interior hallway. And the idea behind a lot of the half initiatives are to promote missing middle housing, which means housing that's missing in the middle. And Summerside is actually a really good example, because Summerside has historically a lot of single unit homes. And more recently, there's been a lot of development of multi-unit apartment buildings, so hallways and apartments, 3-4 stories high. And what's missing is that kind of middle, like in between, a little bit in between. So, you know, duplexes, triplexes, maybe an up-down duplex or a side-by-side. So that's,
And then again, just to clarify, also, the removal here, you got the X's through, that is 3-unit apartment, 4-unit apartment in both R1 and R2 now.
correct.
Because before they were
Correct.
in everything, and now they'd be out of R1 and R2.
Right, and to speak to the definition of missing middle, these, what is permitted in the R1 and R2 are ground level entry or individual entry points for residents, so that they could have a front, you know, access at street level or access to the street, so, yeah.
I have one other question that's come up, and I don't think you can answer it, Janice, but maybe we can try and be somewhat prepared on the 26th to answer it. And sometimes people have a question as to lot sizes and what would be then permitted on which lot size, because they vary in sizes. And so I'm just wondering if, that's one that I have heard, like how would you be able to fit a duplex or a 3-unit townhouse on this lot? And where I don't know the particulars of the lot, I just wonder if we can have people there who can help explain
We
that.
will, and we have been playing with some numbers, because we have minimum frontages required for duplexes and for row houses and townhouses, and we've been, the staff person who would be most familiar with that information is not available this week, but we've been playing with some numbers and crunching some numbers to see what could fit on a, let's say, a typical 75-foot lot, just so people know exactly what could fit.
Thank you. Councilor McColeman?
Okay. Janice, I just have a question. When you explained about R1, R2, the maximum height 34.4, which is 3.5 stories.
Correct.
I believe in some of the presentations you indicated some of the design around those properties. I believe you made the comment that they would be requested or they would blend into the neighborhood. As far as maybe for example, say in a heritage district, you wouldn't maybe have something really ultra-modern. It would be trying to fit within that viewscape of that neighborhood. So
yeah.
could you explain that a little bit so that the residents would hear that?
Okay, so we do not yet have design guidelines, so that level of detail developed, and CMHC is supposedly they are working on sample drawings, sample guidelines, but we don't have access to them yet, so we're not there yet. What we do have proposed for the bylaw are a very general statement about compatibility with regards to building height and streetscape. So we can't get into more detail because we have to be prepared to administer what we have. So we haven't developed the guidelines, so we can't update the bylaw until it's kind of like phase 1. Official plan enable the changes, the zoning bylaw be clear about the permitted uses, and then the next order of work would be more detail. But for this stage, we've looked at wording for compatibility with regards to building height and streetscape. So no more details until later. Okay?
And just one last point. I had someone ask the question about row housing.
Yes.
So that would be in the R3?
R1, R2, R3.
Oh, that would be in the R1 and R2, so row housing. So that
up
would
to
be
4
vertical,
units?
like a vertical build, like down a property rather than horizontally? Do you know what I'm trying to say here?
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, deeper on the lot.
That's, again, that level of detail, we're not at that level of detail.
Okay.
At this point in time, we have front yard setbacks, we have side yard setbacks, we have frontages, but we haven't discussed, we're not into detail of turning things around.
Okay. I guess the reason why I'm asking that, and I couldn't answer it, and I hopefully we will get an answer, with the row housing, it's not individually owned. like it would be unit by unit by unit. And I think, the person that was asking the question wondered if that could go into, say, an R1 or an R2 zone, and it would be individual, but it's like a vertical type.
So, if I understand the question correctly, you're asking, can a row house be subdivided into individual units? A townhouse, so a townhouse can be subdivided into individual units, but a row house cannot. Okay, and a townhouse is constructed so that it has fire, I'm not the building inspector, so that
Right.
it has fire separation
and-
all the way up to the roof.
Yeah.
And so it's constructed so that it could be subdivided. But a row house is not constructed in that same fire, that same.
And I think that was the information I was given, that a row house means a building that is divided into 3 or more vertically adjacent joined dwelling units, separated by a vertical wall, with each unit being constructed directly on grade. Row houses do not require individual public utilities for each unit, street frontage, and cannot be subdivided. So I just wondered if that, as you say, a lot, or a zone 1 or 2, if that would go in, then that would be all individual units.
If it's, so a row house
Yeah.
cannot be subdivided, so you can have a single utility point, a single utility service in a row house, but in a townhouse that can be subdivided, you
Right.
have multiple utility, sewer and water access points.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Did you want to?
Sure. I hope this is a quick question. I think it is. And I've just been reading over and over again on the slide you have up right now. At the bottom of R1, R2, R3R, it says all other uses shown permitted, including through modifications over time. What does that mean?
That's a really good question, and I didn't know if I should get into that when I was doing, that's a really good question. So, should someone own, let's say a side-by-side, semi-detached or a duplex, over time, if they decided they wanted to add secondary units to that building, they would be permitted to do so under this approach. So they could add, if the envelope was large enough, they could add units within the building, or they could add additional units, like a garden, they could add garden suites. So over time. So, let's say you have a duplex and your sibling wants to come and live with you. Let's just start with a single. Your sibling wants to come live with you. You
Never mind
could create a unit in the let's say in the basement, or raise the building, create a unit in the basement, and then if your sibling has a child who needs their own space, then there could be another unit created over time. And the idea behind this approach is to allow for incremental changes over time. I think that the majority of development will probably be in the CDA because it's raw land and it would be easy for a developer to build an apartment building or something, or housing in that new area. But the idea behind these, the R1 and R2 zones would be to give people options so that if their mother needed housing, they wouldn't have to go through a long and lengthy process, or your sibling to go through a long and lengthy process to apply for the potential for a secondary unit. You would know that it was permitted, and then your focus would be on building something that's safe and that would meet the requirements of the bylaw, which would be very clear, and then you can proceed over time to do that. And then if 10 years down the road you want to build a third unit or add a secondary suite outside, then that could be done.
Perfect, that makes sense, and I don't want my mother to get any ideas that she can come live with me. But thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, so, and I know we weren't going to talk about the exceptions, but I have people that live in the exceptions, so can we ask, like, where you have, like, if you go to your map where you have like 1,
Yes?
And then it says, I don't have my glasses on. So what would be, like, what would be permitted there? The 10 stories is throwing me off a little because it says it's not up there, but like, what would we do down here with it? Like with, like,
So, so what are you referring to number one?
yeah.
Okay, so, number one permits up to, I don't have that in front of me because I was focused on the latest, the
sorry.
latest changes.
Okay.
So, but what's your question? What's permitted under the
Yeah, and
CDA
like,
zone?
what would the, like, how we did the, like, stepped back for other
Yes,
ones? What would be allowed to be built in one?
So one is, the building height is up to 10 stories in one, okay?
Even though there's residential on either side of it immediately? Like R1 on both sides of it?
That's what's proposed. Yep. What we have, there are many, see, we're getting into a high level of detail, and what we focused on for this last change was that District 3, there's a new District 3, so at the beginning of the.
There, yep.
Yeah, so at the beginning, we had two districts. We had R1, which were the nodes, so let's just think nodes are higher density.
Yep.
R2 corridor, less density. And then we developed a District 3, I said R, so District 1, nodes, District 2, corridor, District 3, transitional.
Okay.
So what's new is District 3 transitional, and that's essentially R3 uses. And that's because there are existing developed neighborhoods directly adjacent to that area. To go back to the east-west corridor, this CDA zone is taken from the original east-west corridor, which has been in place since 2008. Okay?
Okay, I guess my request would be that that probably should be looked at in the same lens that we looked at the back of the Bluebell off of Collin and Walker, when we changed that to a 3, because here you have the same. I do understand going through the new east-west housing corridor. There's currently nothing there for a little bit. We do have some housing in Woodridge, and those people have a field there now that will be developed. But like this, it's like there's no field between the people and their house. So you would have their house and then you'd have a 10-story. Whereas these people, it would be a gradual, correct? But this isn't. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I might be confusing it.
Yeah, I think, I think the focus, yeah.
Yeah, one at the bottom, sorry Janice, I should
Okay.
have said that, like the Water Street East one, not the one that is currently nothing around it.
Okay, so the purpose of this meeting tonight is to address technical questions, and this is not the forum for design. It's not a, this is the question, this is, we're getting into changing, the east-west corridor existed since 2008, and we took the east-west corridor and we created a zone. And the zone has, the CDA zone allows for a wide variety of activities to take place, and we've created districts, 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
And we were asked tonight to focus on the changes that we have made in the most recent iteration, and that's District 3. And at this point in time, District 3 is limited to one area only. And so District 1 would be the most.
bottom one?
That's the bottom one. That is the most dense. And it's in a commercial, it would allow for more of a commercial use and institutional use.
One is?
One. District 1, the connector
One at
node,
the bottom or one at the top?
both.
you think that's more commercial than anything built through here would be? And
It
when it's-
allows for, it permits that. It
allow-
allows
it
for
allow-
that.
It allows for it down the road.
It allows for it down the road.
There is one change on that, Councillor Adams, if you look at that last sentence, on the right-hand side where it says exceptions in districts 2 and 3, that should read exceptions in District 2 only. And then down below, the exception is that there's a maximum 4 stories in District 2 anywhere, where a lot would be abutting an existing residential building as of September 1st of this year. So if there's already an existing residential building there.
District 2, in the 2,
District 2,
yeah.
then it would be a maximum of 4 stories.
Okay, but what about in 1 at the bottom?
In 1, the proposal is, as you see, for
Okay, and
a mix
that's
of,
probably.
a mix of commercial,
that-
institutional.
Yeah,
and
okay, I got
max-
you. But in my mind, that's completely backwards to how it should be. Because I currently have, in this 1 at the bottom, I currently have people living all around that. I don't have people living directly around the 2. So I have a big issue with that one. Because if we're changing height District 2, we should be changing height District 1 north or whatever it is. Because you actually currently have people living here. You don't have people living along 2.
So Councillor Adams, you're suggesting that in District 1, then the exceptions would apply?
Yeah,
That's a suggestion for potential changes?
yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Is there a reason that 1 at the bottom is not 2? Like, is there a reason why that 2 just didn't
Yeah,
flow
because
right through?
the idea is that that zone that's going to eventually become a prime intersection in the community, similar to, it has the potential to become a prime intersection in the community, similar to Water Street and McEwen Road. So the idea is to zone that for commercial, institutional, or mixed commercial residential. It's to encourage
But in
commercial development there over time.
just so I'm clear, but in District 2, you are allowed mixed commercial residential, right? It's just in District 1, I think, in fairness to Councillor Adams, what she's saying is there's a proposed 10 units right next to so that's the scary part. Not that it's gonna happen today or tomorrow, or it's the thought of it, where if the idea is to have commercial, residential, institutional, it can also be done in that 2 zone. So if that 1 was the only area up at the top and everything else was 2 below, does that satisfy some of the concerns, Councillor
Yes,
Adams?
because there's, in the top one, there's no housing.
Yeah.
Well, I do have some housing up in Woodridge, but you have this field here that is like going to act as a buffer as it builds, right?
Yeah.
But then this bottom part should be a 2, in my mind.
Take that away for consideration, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janice.
Any other questions from council? I know I did see, Mike Martin, you were waving at me. I'm guessing you're gonna. Yeah. As I said at the beginning, anyone can approach. The way the process works, you say you want to talk, we ask council, they have a vote, then I'll ask you to give me a good amount of time, to give me a tip.
It'll be short. Most of my questions will be on the 26th, but I just want, well, first of all, I have to ask permission if I can speak.
Yeah, council, please indicate by saying aye if Mr. Martin to speak. I think I had an error over here, but I think that's, any opposed? Not hearing any. Okay, Mike, I'll give you the floor.
I guess what I wanted to know tonight, so I am the property owner that we're talking about at the bottom of Water Street East, that they're proposing putting a 10-story building right next to my residence and our farm, our small farm, our horses and stuff, and running the 10-story buildings all the way up there. I don't know why we're not talking about that tonight. We're talking about R1, 2, and 3 with 4-story buildings, but nobody's talking about the 10-story buildings they're gonna go all the way up the CDA. What I wanna know that I can prepare for the 26 is what is the metric that is being used or that has been used for the Bluebell subdivision that made noise when they heard that they were gonna put 10-story buildings up there, that had it reverted back and created a new zone that now they only have to have up to 4 stories. I wanna jump into that metric and make sure that I can take advantage of that same thing for our property.
So
I
that's
know
the
you won't have
question,
the
yeah,
answer
that's
right
the
now,
question
so
for the 26th, and we
Maybe by
can,
the 26th, there'll be some answers for that.
yeah, and I think to your point, like, again, this is, I think we're having a discussion about looking at that here right now, and that's why it's great to be able to
Yeah, I
continue
don't
to
expect
develop
any answers
policy,
tonight, but
absolutely.
Just in preparation for the 26th, so that we're all better prepared for that conversation.
Yeah, and that's, again, this is the benefits of going through this and looking at, look, those are situations, and we're always making adjustments, because we want to get to a good result. Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just have one quick question for staff, it's probably Gordon. On the 10-story piece, 10-story buildings are currently permitted in the downtown?
Correct.
Correct, okay.
Yep.
And they have been since a while?
A while, yeah. I
Just
don't
a-
know the date off the top of my head, but it's been more than a handful of years.
Yeah, we haven't had, like, just, we haven't had lots of people banging down the doors to build 10-story buildings across the city.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to flag that again, like our downtown has had that as an opportunity for years, and we aren't there yet, but we do have a 5-story building, which has setbacks. So Janice? Any other comments, questions? Councilor McColman,
I was just waiting in case there was someone else on the floor.
got your lights on?
I know it's on, but when you
You pushed it down, I didn't know. That's a new one, I don't know if the light on and the
I was actually
light
waiting though in
down.
case there were residents. The question that I have, and I guess I'd like to at least get it clarified for the September 26th. As Councillor Carey indicated about the District 1, 2, and 1, I'm looking at the area around. There looks to be either trees or fields. But my question is based on one of the emails that we received from a resident. And the fact was that they felt that when they bought into a neighborhood, that was R1 and R2, that they bought in investing in that purchase of that property and investment, that sort of thing. But I'm wondering if there's now going to be allowed 10 stories in District 1, 2, and 10, will there be any kind of a buffer zone for residents? That it's not really close to their properties? Like if the trees are lost, if the green space is lost, and maybe you can't answer it tonight, but I really would appreciate that answer could be given to the residents by the September the 26th, so that they'd know. And is that a possibility?
Yes, certainly it
Okay,
is.
good,
Yes.
good. Especially in 1, 2, and 10 district.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, seeing any further questions, comments? All right, with that, we'll hope to see everybody on the 26th. Oh, you got me.
I'm sorry, Alan Thorpe, 69 Canton Drive, 45 South Drive. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, I'd like just to make a couple very, very short comments. I won't be making short comments on the 26th. That's not my nature. I heard about this word of mouth, which is, you know, like a friend, and they sent an email and all of that sort of thing. This is not the way City Council should be addressing such a major issue. Like, this is big. You know, for somebody that's got an R1 lot right now and happens to have an empty lot beside them, they don't know, are they gonna have a single family dwelling go in there? Are they gonna have a townhouse? Are they going to have an apartment building? You know, I'm lucky, you know, when the neighborhood was changing and a lot came up next to my property, I bought it, just so I wouldn't have an apartment building looking down over my pool. Didn't want that. So, can the city of Summerside inform all residents, you know, of the meeting on the 26th, so that actually people can go there. You know, they'll be aware of what the issues are, you know. And like, I didn't know what the issues were, you know, aside from, you know, this one email that said, oh, okay, if you've got an R1 lot empty next to you, you can put 4 houses on it. And I thought, what? 4? On any big little R1 lot. So is there something that city council can do to get the word out? I know that you can get your water bills out, so you can get the word out to people. So that's my one question for this particular meeting is, can you do something better to inform the people who elected you folks into office, you know, about the major changes that are happening to the city plan? Yes or no?
Yeah, no, they're good comments, and it's been one we've talked about here in the past a number of times in terms of getting information out, because we used to all be on the same page of the daily newspaper, and that used to be out. We did post ads in the newspaper, and there's been the social media posts, and it's been on the radio, and all councillors have been sharing it and talking about it. And it is good that you heard about it from word of mouth, because that is one place where we hear a lot of things, right? That's the reality.
About it today,
Okay.
this late today.
Okay.
About 4 o'clock today.
Well, I'm glad you heard about it, because we have been trying to get that information out. It is something council has talked about, looking at, do you use water bills to provide updates on things, all things happening here at city council, right? Because the other discussion we've had here is that we can't pick one issue to do it for and then not for other issues. So we certainly, I think all of council would be really happy if people paid a lot more attention to what was going on at city council. We sit with a lot of meetings and there's nobody here on important issues. And so I'd always encourage residents to stay abreast of all the information that's posted. All the meetings are posted online. All of them are on video. And so that's, we have talked about it. I don't, you know, in terms of,
Is there
That's
any
what I've got
is
for an
there any
answer.
concrete method that you'd commit to getting the word out prior to the 26th?
in addition to the work that we've done.
Yes, you know, because that's not working. Most of the people I talked to today, you know, didn't know about this. And it was too late for them to actually come, you know, because, you know, I found out about 4 o'clock, you know, how many people can you actually ask? I asked pretty well everybody on my street, and they said, oh, no, didn't know anything about that. And so, you know, for them to drop everything and come here, and I know a lot of them would have, especially the folks, you know, who are living next to 45 South Drive, because they would be scared as hell that I'm going to sell the place to put up an apartment building, you know, which would be well within my rights, you know, as things stand right now.
Yeah, I think we should do everything we can to get that message out, absolutely, so people know to come to these meetings and come to any of them. Like I said, I've been at every single one of these meetings, and some there's been a few people at, some there's been a lot, and it's good. That's what we want. We want people to engage, so I think we should continue to do whatever we can to let people know that this stuff is happening. We do have, you know, everything in terms of getting the information out, and maybe Deputy CAO can confirm this, but when I last asked what the number of times people went onto the city website and opened all of this, so that has the housing. How many? What was the number of times that page with all the information had been opened?
I didn't bring my report with me, but over 1,600 downloads of the.
So over 1,600 downloads of the information. So it's certainly out there, and we've been having this discussion now for a few months. But we're with you in terms of it is important to get the stuff out, and it's not even just on this one item. We have lots of really important things that come through this council chambers that matter and make a big difference for everybody in our community. Like I said earlier, we would certainly love to have more people. It's not we want people's feedback and engagement. So I think we can try and explore all opportunities to get this out and share it, and tell your friends, let people know. That really helps. That is the most valuable way to let people know what is happening in the community is word of mouth. But we'll try and give you more ammunition. Okay?
Your worship.
Yeah,
just-
Councillor
just-
Snow?
Just to that point, I think again, we have been trying, as much as last budget, we hired a communications officer, like, we're trying to, it's something that we had identified a while ago, that we have trouble getting information out to people, and maybe it's trouble or issues people are having listening or paying attention to. It probably goes both ways. You need to take that information in, but I can guarantee it's something that council previously realized and started to invest in. If there's any ideas, I'm sure council would be more than willing to look at those as ways to get it out, so.
Councillor Adams, you mentioned someone else wanted to, and we'll just sort of keep the blanket yays that we did at the beginning, and I'll sort of keep the floor open and hopefully not to, yeah, I'm trying not to interrupt anybody.
Okay. I currently live in a single-family community, like all personal housing or whatever, but my question is, it's an R1, so if the person next to me decides to sell their house, can they make it into a duplex or whatever in a single-family dwellings?
I can answer that. That would be, based on this proposal, yes.
They can?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, the other thing as well for folks, if you have questions, other questions, you've taken the information, I would encourage you to go to the website and look at all of the information that is there. This is, what we have here today is just a little piece of it, and as Jana said, we're into some of the weeds on it, but there is a lot of package there. There's also, their housing needs assessment is available in that place, in the Task Force on Attainable Housing. All the information in there. It is a lot, and we're not expecting everyone to read everything and digest it all and figure out how it's all going to shake out, but it's there. But if you do have questions, even between now and the 26th, send them in. You can certainly send them to me or to any one of councillors. When council gets questions or comments, council shares it with the rest of council, so we make sure that everybody sees those questions or comments. And then you can even queue it up and say, I'd like to have this answered on the 26th. Some people are uncomfortable standing at a microphone in front of a group of people. So, look, we also want to make sure that they have an opportunity to ask those questions in a way that is more comfortable for them. And with that, are we ready to move on to the next item? All right. I'm going to assume some folks not everyone is here for the next resolutions, so what we'll do, or for the appointment to committees, of which there are none. So what we'll do is we'll just take a 2 or 3 minute recess, let people get up, stretch their legs. Those who want to stay, we're happy to have you. Those who want to go home, I understand, because I'm there too. But and then we'll continue and finish our meeting. All right, we might as well resume here. No, I didn't know about it. No, I didn't know about it. All right, we'll resume. Aaron and folks, we're going to move on to item 6A, 210 Greenwood Drive, official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. Councillor Drawn, I think I'll hand it over to you.
Just working on microphones. Okay. Not used to waiting this long in a meeting to talk. I haven't been prepared. Yeah, okay, so official plan and zoning amendments for 210 Greenwood Drive. Background, an application was received from Darcy McDonald for PID number 308593 to amend the official plan land use from industrial to residential land use and amend the zoning from light industrial to high-density residential R4. The purpose of the amendments is to allow apartment building development consisting of 3 24-unit buildings in the proposed R4 zone. The proposed official plan amendment is to change the land use from industrial to residential, and the proposed zoning bylaw amendment should change the zoning from light industrial M1 zone to high-density residential R4 zone. Application was advertised in the September 4th edition of The Guardian, and letters were mailed to property owners within 60 meters or 200 feet of the subject properties. The current zone, which is light industrial M1, the purpose of this zone is to accommodate light industrial and other compatible non-noxious industrial uses, together with some supporting and complementary commercial uses. The permitted uses in the current zone, subject to bylaw requirements. Industrial uses include heavy machinery sales or repairs, marine sales or repairs, truck driving school, light industrial, manufactured home construction, trucking depot, food processor, accessory building, cannabis production facility, brew pub and microbrewery, automobile towing facility, and light construction company. Permitted commercial uses in the M1 include animal shelter and kennel, bakery, building supply outlet, body shop, repair shop, or automotive sales establishment, small, medium, and large child care facility, printing or publishing establishment, dry cleaning processor and outlet, automobile storage facility, outdoor storage area, self-storage and warehouse, or parking lot. And other would be a telecommunication tower. Discretionary uses in the existing M1 zone subject to council approval include recycling facility, wind energy conservation systems, or solar energy collector systems for industrial, and for commercial include business/professional office. The proposed zone, high-density residential R4, the purpose of this zone is to provide for high-density housing in the form of apartments, as well as housing in the form of single-family, semi-detached, duplex dwellings, row house, townhouse, and other compatible uses. Permitted uses in the proposed high-density residential R4, subject to bylaw requirements, include single-family dwelling, assisted living, row house, semi-detached dwelling, duplex dwelling, townhouse, apartment building, group home, community care and nursing home, boarding house, medium child care facility, social services agency, accessory building, or rooming house. Discretionary uses subject to council approval include tourist home and inn, and that also requires a conditional use approval. And conditional uses subject to a development officer approval in the R4 high-density residential zone include home-based business, B&B, and vacation rental property or secondary suites. Explanation of the process. In order to process an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment, the following steps are required. Step 1, the zoning bylaw amendment is read a first time and declared as read at a first council meeting. Step 2, the zoning bylaw amendment is referred to planning board for review and recommendation, and those two steps take place at the same meeting of council, and it will take place this evening. Step 3, planning board reviews the application and prepares a recommendation to council. That takes place at the planning board meeting, which is scheduled for October 1st at 5 p.m. Step 4, the zoning bylaw amendment is read a second time and declared as read at a second council meeting. Step 5, the official plan amendment is read to be adopted by council. The resolution will be either carried or defeated by vote of council. If the official plan amendment is adopted by council, it is sent to the Minister of Agriculture and Land for signature, and the amendment becomes official. If the official plan amendment is defeated, the zoning bylaw amendment will be defeated as well, as the zoning amendment cannot contradict the official plan amendment. And step 6, the zoning bylaw amendment is read to be adopted by council. The resolution will be either carried or defeated by vote of council. If the zoning bylaw amendment is adopted by council, it is sent to the Minister of Housing, Land and Communities for signature, and the amendment becomes official. Steps 4 to 6 take place at council's second meeting, which is October 21st at 6:30. Please note that in accordance with section 5.20 of the city zoning bylaw, any person who is dissatisfied by a decision of council in respect of the administration of this bylaw may appeal council's decision within 21 days to the Island Regulatory and Appeals Commission. Comments and questions. So 2 parts. Part 1, we would invite, if the applicant wishes to do so, to make comments or present perhaps what they intend to do with the property. And representing the applicant is present tonight, Clifford McQuaid and Melissa McDonald. So if you'd like to step forward and kind of give us an overview, please feel free to do so.
Your Worship, City Council, my name's Cliff McQuaid. I'm here for my son-in-law, Darcy. We're just choked off a bit. But anyway, what we were trying to do for that, or he was trying to do for that property first, was do a parking lot for the HST Center, to get the cars off the street there. But he couldn't get in touch with anybody. He couldn't get any answers in that. So we decided to try for R4. The multi-unit's 3 to 4 story high. She's on 2 streets, the corner of Mill Road and Greenwood Drive. So we got this good accessibility for either or, parking lot or multi-units. Thank you. Yeah. I had a trachea, and that's why my throat's out. Thanks. But anyway, we get good accessibility from that property, and I mean, it's not going to be unsightly or anything like that. We like to put up a good establishment sort of thing. We're doing the Bibles for Missions down on Greenwood Drive there now. And we get a couple other projects working on there. And they're also tearing down the old government garage. They started that. The IMAX in there right now, actually. And we'll be back to council in that one too. So, but this could either be 2 buildings or 3, whatever we agreed on sort of thing, eh? I don't know what else to say about it. We could go underground parking or above ground parking. There's all kinds of land. She's long enough for 2 buildings, lots of parking, lots of everything. And we're not going 10 stories. No. Well, yeah, once you go over 6, you're doubling your cost. Yeah, so. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about it. Just, we're in front of you here now.
Any questions from councillors for Clifford, or pretty straightforward?
I do have just a quick question, just to play devil's advocate a little bit. If you could get in contact with someone from CRA for a parking lot, would that be something you would consider doing?
Oh, yeah. If my son-in-law, he tried to get in contact with them, and he can't even get in the front door, for Christ's sake. Yeah,
well, there is a parking committee within the building, and if anyone is possibly listening, or I could pass on some information to people that I know who work for CRA, and if they are interested, they could reach out to you.
Yeah.
Just putting that out there as a possibility.
We'd be 100% with that. Do you want my daughter to give you Darcy's email number?
Yeah, we can chat after. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. But if that can't go, we're not really, you're lucky if you can get a good commercial property to go in that, eh? And I think we got a good one going in down the street. Everybody seems pretty happy with it. So, okay, if there's any else there.
Thank you very much. I mean, if, the next part of this item, that we also invite, if there's anybody in the gallery here, members of the public that would like to either make comments or ask questions, please to feel free to do so. If not, we will move on. Councilor McCollum.
I just wanted to ask Mr. McQuaid a question. So when it says 324-unit buildings, Mr. McQuaid, I'm just wondering, are any of the units going to be affordable, attainable, high rent? Just, you know, I don't want to put you on the spot, I'm just wondering.
We haven't gone there yet, you know. Like, we go with underground parking and go with a steel building, you know, they're going to be higher end units in that, eh? There's a lot of, you get water view from up there once you go up 3 or 4 stories for, you know, a couple of stories in that, eh? I was just talking it over with my son-in-law there, and he's got a few people that he's gonna work with and that. But all I know is it'll be a good-looking building, and we'll deal with all that if we get the zoning, eh? We'll have the plans and everything done. Yeah.
No, that's fair. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I guess we can move into the resolutions. And just as a final reminder that this will go to planning board, there'll be a full report on, you know, whether the change over to high density will be able to handle, you know, supply of water, electrical and all that. That's all in the planning board meeting report, which is October 1st at 5 p.m. And from that, it will go to a final decision of council on October 21st. First resolution COS 24-081. Whereas an application was received from Darcy McDonald for a zoning amendment for PID number 308593 from light industrial M1 zone to high density residential R4 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be it resolved that zoning amendment 0325 be hereby declared as read a first time. Zoning amendment 0325, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw. The Council of the City of Summerside, under authority vested in it by Section 18 and Section 19 of the Planning Act, hereby enacts as follows. The zoning for PID number 308593, shown on Schedule B of the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, is designated as high-density residential R4 zone, hereby excluding it from its former designation of light industrial M1 zone. Resolution COS 24081, moved by myself, and I would ask for a seconder. Deputy Mayor Snow.
Thank you, Councillor. Resolution COS 24-081, moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Deputy Mayor Snow, is on the floor. Any further comments, questions, statements from council? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried.
Resolution COS 24-082, whereas an application was received from Darcy McDonald for a zoning amendment for PID number 308593 from light industrial M1 zone to high-density residential R4 zone under the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, and whereas zoning bylaw amendment 0325, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, was read and declared as read a first time at this council meeting, be it resolved that zoning bylaw amendment 0325, a bylaw to amend the City of Summerside zoning bylaw, be hereby referred back to the planning board for review and recommendation. Moved by myself, and I would ask again for a seconder. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. No, it doesn't have to be planning board yet. It's the next one. Resolution COS 24-082, moved by Councillor Duran, seconded by Councillor McCollum, is on the floor. Any further comments, questions, statements from members of council? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The resolution is carried. Thank you, Councillor Duran. And with that, we'll move on to item 6B, which is resolution COS 24-083, FCM loan for solar farm. And I don't know who's reading this one. Does anybody? Wow, that's great. All right, Councillor Morrison, over to you, sir.
Resolution COS 24-083. I better get the right one, I guess. So moved by myself, second by Councillor Norman McColman. Whereas City Council passed a resolution, COS 20-001, on January the 20th, 2020, endorsing an application for a low-interest loan grant funding opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, FCM, for our solar and battery project. Whereas the City of Summerside was approved for this loan in the amount of $10 million and grant of $1.5 million, and signed the contribution agreement with FCM on September 23rd, 2020. Whereas the City of Summerside will be proceeding to draw down the loan and grant. Therefore, be it resolved that City Council authorize the drawdown of this loan and grant and represents and warrants that the City of Summerside has the legal power and authority to enter and perform the obligations under the contribution agreement with FCM signed on September 23rd, 2020. The City of Summerside can incur the indebtedness and liability as set out above. The loan total, $10 million, will not cause the City of Summerside to exceed its debt limit as set out in the Municipal Government Act, Part 3, Division 3, Section 164. 3. The security required for this borrowing transaction is the appropriate borrowing resolution related documentation.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. Resolution COS 24-083, moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor McColman, is on the floor. Comments, questions, statements from members of council? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is carried. Resolution COS 24-084, and I think Councillor McColman, are you doing this one? Or is it Rick, or is it Carrie? No, it's Councillor Morrison again, all right.
Resolution COS 24-084, moved by Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor Norman McColman. Whereas the Government of Canada and the Province of Prince Edward Island signed the Canada Community Building Fund Agreement for 2024-2034. Whereas the City of Summerside has been advised that our allocation amounts for 2024-2025 to 2028-2029 are as follows. 2024-25, $1,486,595. 2025-2026, $1,561,968. 2026-27, $1,561,968. 2027-28, $1,637,058. And in 2028-29, it's $1,637,058. Whereas the Infrastructure Secretariat with the Province of PEI requires a council resolution to allocate these direct allocation amounts. Be it resolved that council approves the allocation as follows. For 2024-25, East-West Corridor. For 2025-2026, East-West Corridor. For 2026-27, Fire Hall. For 2027-28, Fire Hall. And for 2028-29, East-West Corridor. The City of Summerside can request that these funds be transferred to a different project by passing a resolution and requesting a transfer.
Thank you, Councillor. Resolution COS 24-084, moved by Councillor Morrison, seconded by Councillor McColman, is on the floor. Comments, statements, questions from members of council? Hearing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution is carried. Thank you, Councillor Morrison. And Councillor McColman for seconding all of the resolutions here this evening.
And I know it's after the fact, but just on behalf of the Finance Committee, Councillor McDougall is out of province, but Councillor Morrison and myself, these items were discussed thoroughly at the committee meeting level before being brought to council. So there was really good question and answer period process.
Thank you, Councillor, and to all councillors for all the committee work that happens here on a regular basis. It is where a lot of the heavy lifting gets done. We'll move into department reports. First is finance, and Councillor McDougall is in Ottawa. Did Councillor McDougall ask Councillor Morrison to present? McColman. Well, his light was on, Norman. I thought he was getting ready. Councillor McColman, over to you.
We're doing the tag team while Dad's away. I'm pleased to present this evening's finance report, and I do want to thank Director Kristen Dunsford for preparing the report. Good evening to my colleagues on City Council and to businesses and residents in the City of Summerside. Our external audit for the year 2023-24 fiscal year is wrapping up, and our audited financial statements will be presented to Council in late September and then filed with the Government of Prince Edward Island no later than October 15th as required per Section 175(1) of the Municipal Government Act. For the current fiscal year, we are working on preparing a projection to March 31st, 2025, which will be more indicative of what our operating results will be for this fiscal year. This projection will be included when we report the second quarter results in October. A reminder to our utility customers who have received collection notices regarding their account, we strongly encourage you to contact our office at 902-432-1230 or email customerservice@summerside.ca to address these past due balances to avoid disconnection of services. Our total past due has increased from what we were reporting as of August 13th, and the portion that is greater than 60 days has not decreased. Our utility accounts receivable as of September 11th, 2024 is reporting a total overdue balance is $188,300 compared to $173,500 at August 13th, 2024. The table attached to this report also shows the last 6 months compared to the same 6-month period in 2023. Thank you for your opportunity to present this report, and either myself or Director of Finance are available to take your questions. That concludes the report, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor McColman. Any questions for Councillor McColman? All right. I will move on to item B. Deputy Mayor Snow.
Thank you, Your Worship. The following is a brief update from the Office of the Economic Development. This past month, we had the pleasure of welcoming the Korean ambassador to Canada, Wong Sung Lim, along with delegation from Samsung SRE. The meeting highlighted the collaboration over the years with Samsung and a chance for the ambassador to tour some of the significant investments Samsung has collaborated with the city in advancing our clean tech aspirations. The department hosted a delegation from Clean Tech Academy and the Holland College to showcase our investments in clean tech, along with fruitful discussions on where Summerside is going in these areas and how mutual collaboration can work. The department is also working on finalizing a contract with the National Research Council IRAP program to advance innovation in the space of clean technologies. This initial project would see the opportunity to further advance the development of a virtual power plant for the city of Summerside. This concludes the monthly report with a large focus on clean tech.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Snow. Any further comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll keep moving right along. 7C, Councillor Adams.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a report from Summerside Police Services. I believe Chief Walker put it together. In August, Sergeant Daly for the Major Crime Section participated in the Emergency Sexual Assault Committee meeting. August 17th, Police Services members, Sergeant Daly, Constable Noonan, Constable Darash, and Constable McDonald attended an inter-service shooting competition. This included Summerside Police, RCMP, Military, PEI Regiment, Navy, and the PEI Rifle Association. August 22 to 24 was Lennox Island hosted the annual Maui Omi, I think that's how you say it. Is that right? Okay. I did see it on the news and I was trying to remember how they pronounced it. At the Lennox Island Cultural Grounds, Constable Metallic and Sergeant Korish attended the powwow, and Constable Metallic, who is of Indigenous heritage, danced at the event. August 25th, the Family Place Touch a Truck event fundraiser and family event was held at Cool Breeze Farms. This year, the Summerside Police Service and the PEI Police Association were represented at the occasion. Constable McKinnon was at the fundraiser on behalf of the police services and interacted with event goers and those looking for a close look at one of Summerside's patrol vehicles. In addition, the police services supplied an officer, Constable Noonan, to conduct traffic duties due to the size and safety concerns associated to an event of this size. August 30th, Chief Walker and Deputy Chief Blackier attended the Atlantic Police Academy graduation. And how did we have cadets, 2 cadets coming out of that? Do we know?
That's the next one.
Or the next session they come out. Okay, right. So we'll have a couple coming out, graduating from the next bunch. And the police services recently hired 3 Atlantic Police Academy graduates from the 2024 graduating class: Constable Kenny Gillis, Constable Jot Uppel, and Constable Alec Kinsman. And Constable Gillis, Constable Uppel, and Constable Kinsman had a successful OJT with the Summerside Police Service and will remain under the supervision of the respective coach officers until they're released for regular duty. And this generally runs an average of 4 to 6 months, depending on the individual. And, fire services, thank you to Ken Culleton for putting this together. Quick summary of calls during the month of August. There were 10 medical first responder calls, and I always want to bring attention to that, how much time that takes up from our volunteer firefighters to respond to medical first responder calls. 31 silent alarms and 4 general alarms for structure fires. Significant hours were spent on our upcoming fall and winter sessions, dealing specifically with electric vehicles and high-rise firefighting. Thank you to all residents who attended the annual fundraiser with the Ellis Family Band. The funds that were raised helped support programs such as Prince County Hospital Lights for Life, all the Summerside School breakfast programs, Santa Claus Christmas Parade, Lifehouse Summerside, Muscular Dystrophy, and a number of other community events. And that's it, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. Any further comments, questions, Council? Hearing none, we'll move on to Councillor Morrison.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm pleased to present this Community Service Department report, and I want to thank Director JP for writing it up for me. Summerside Dome. The Summerside Boys and Girls Club has concluded its summer day camps at the Summerside Dome, where numerous birthday parties were also hosted in August. Looking ahead, they are beginning to fill their schedule for the fall/winter months, welcoming both returning and new user groups to the Dome. Active Living Summerside, the Active Living Division successfully completed its summer fun programming with strong participation throughout the summer. There was approximately 1,300 individuals who took part in various activities, highlighting the popularity of the initiative. Preparations are underway for the launch of the fall programming. In the Confederation Bridge Aquatic Center at Credit Union Place in August, the Aquatic Center saw significant participation in its programs. We had 880 attendees for our AquaFit sessions. 84 children successfully completed private swim lessons, which concluded mid-August. In addition, inflatables were featured every Friday from 1 to 7, providing added fun for attendees. At the box office, staff are busy with Summerside Western Capital season tickets, renewals, and sales, which began on August 2nd and will continue throughout September. The preparations are underway for the Hockey Canada Rivalry Series, with tickets going on sale later in September. At the bowling lanes, leagues are set to begin this month with 4 leagues, including a youth bowling league. At the Island Petroleum Energy Center at Credit Union Place, throughout August, several facility improvements were completed. The arena bowl and washroom countertops were finalized, and dehumidifiers were installed in the pool change rooms. Additionally, the bath and shower stalls for the pool change rooms have arrived, with installation date to be confirmed. The arena plant will be operational around September 16th or 17th, depending on the completion of glass and floor work. In the parks and green spaces, staff are currently focused on maintenance and installing a new play structure at Hillcrest Park, with completion expected by mid-next week. Following this, work will move to Leger Park to install the final play structure for the year. The street planting program will commence shortly, involving the planting of approximately 20 large street trees throughout the city. And for sets, the division had a busy late summer delivering the following events. August the 8th through 11th was the 21U Women's Baseball National Championship, 200 participants, 4,000 spectators. On the 7th and 8th of September, NHL Street Fest, 120 participants, 200 spectators. From September 9th to the 14th was the Powerlifting Nationals Credit Union Place, 600 participants, 2,500 spectators. Staff are focusing on planning the following events: promoting weekly the Celtic Thunder concert in November, rivalry series in February, and curling events coming up in March. And once again, I'd like to thank Director J.P. DeRoger for that. And if there's any questions, we'll answer them.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. I'll move right along. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Your Worship. The department is assisting the police department in the rollout of another new cadet sponsorship program. The city has received funding through the province to support the complete sponsorship of an additional 2 new cadets who will participate in the December Atlantic Police Academy intake session. The application period closed on Friday, and staff will be reviewing the applications. Al Wood has been promoted to equipment operator with municipal services. Staff participated in the Ocean 100's Stuff a Bus food drive. The city's new ID program moved one step closer to reality. The majority of city staff have had their photo taken for their IDs. Next step will be working with the IT department and staff to produce the physical IDs and then deliver them to the employees. Current job competitions include a construction inspector with technical services, equipment operator and semi-skilled laborer positions with municipal services department, an ice maker position, and customer service representative with the community service department. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Further questions, comments? Right, next, F Municipal Services. I don't know, did I read this in last time or did you read it, Rick? Councillor Morrison.
Public Works, Water and Sewer Utility highlights. Traffic markings have been completed with exception to construction areas and a few parking areas that are municipally owned. Street sweeping efforts have stopped while catch basin cleaning occurs next month. Street sweeping will begin again in October for the fall leaves pickup. Fire hydrant flushing begin this month and will continue for the remainder of the month. Residents are reminded that during this time the water may be discolored as the water system fire hydrants are exercised. This is normal, and if it occurs, please run your taps until it clears. Any concerns can be brought to the attention of the city at 902-432-1268. And for electric utility highlights, on September 1st, 2024, Summerside Electric entered into an extension to its power agreement with New Brunswick Energy Marketing until October of 2025. The pricing of energy and capacity has risen substantially for the next year. The contract represents approximately 40% of Summerside Electric's energy procurement needs, where the other 60% is procured from local renewable energy from West Cape Wind, Summerside Wind, and solar energy. Summerside Electric is actively engaged in 33 current developments of larger size throughout the city. The status of these developments is 5 have been completed, 4 to be determined for schedule, with the remainder schedule to be completed by July of 2025. The developing clientele are reminded that the earlier information is coordinated with the utility for electricity, the smoother the development will get the required servicing. Please call 902-432-1268 to start the process for receiving temporary and permanent electricity. And I'd like to thank Director Greg Goody for his report.
Thank you, Councillor Morrison. With that, we'll move on to item G. Councillor McCollum.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to thank Director Lori Ellis for preparing this public report, and the report captures some highlights of Culture Summerside's activity from mid-August to the middle part of September time period. The August-September 2024 period continues to be very busy with tourists visiting our cultural sites and taking museum tours. We currently have one remaining summer staff who is helping cover the demand for Saturday tours. She will be finished at the end of September. Permanent full-time staff are handling tours during the week for September. The numbers of tours through our museum sites are up over 2023. A final seasonal total will be tallied after September, and Culture Summerside's 35+ five-star reviews on TripAdvisor is a testament to the quality of cultural tourism product being offered to the visitors. Grant writing is underway for next year's programs and festivals, and the 24th annual Historic Ghost Walk is scheduled for Thursday, October 17th from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. The program takes visitors on a guided tour of historic Summerside to hear the true stories of Halloween and the darker side of island history. Tickets must be pre-purchased to confirm tour time. Tickets are $10. Children under 6 are free and must be paid for when booked. If members of council are interested in attending, please contact Culture Summerside to arrange your time tours. There will be somebody there to help if we get scared. The historic Bishop Machine Shop is is progressing well. The building has been emptied and prep is underway for the actual move. And Director Lori has put at the end of her report just a couple of pictures of the vacuuming the old insulation from Bishop Attic and also bracing the ceiling hung belt driven pulleys for the Bishop move. And it's going to be quite an addition to historic properties and a real tour draw in the summers. So that concludes the report.
Just one comment. I drive around every morning. One of my stops is always to see the progress of Bishops, and I've been anxiously waiting for that property, not necessarily to move, but I think the move to the new location is a great addition to the Culture Summerside. But then I'm extremely excited to see what possible things can happen with that site in the future. So and how that can impact the downtown overall. So I think as a whole, that's a great project that's going to see lots of benefits.
It's a lost art. And I think it certainly brings back a lot of things from yesteryear, and it'd be really good for young children and tourists. So that's great. I'll pass that on.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Drawn.
Thank you, Your Worship. The 2024 construction season continues throughout the city. The construction and the inspection of these jobs will continue through the fall. The sewer main replacement work continues on Duke Street. Sewer main work along Mackenzie and South Drive will be starting soon. Sidewalk replacement is progressing on McDougall. The active transportation job on Pope Road will be starting shortly as well. Staff have a city map showing the locations of planned projects for the year ahead. This information has been added to our city website and will continue to be updated as projects proceed throughout the season. 13 building permits with a value of just over $2.3 million were issued for the month of August for a year-to-date total of 121 permits and a value of just over $65.6 million. The breakdown of permits issued for this month are 1 commercial permit, 1 mix of commercial, and 40-unit residential. And on the residential side, we issued permits for 2 additions or alterations, 2 semi-detached, 4 for decks and accessory buildings, and 3 demolition permits. The second tender for the East-West project is set to start in September. The new road opposite Roy Boats is under construction. This road will connect from Granville to Central. The 60-unit building on Simmons now has occupancy, and a few others are getting close. 8 units on Lyle Road, 31 units Lafergie Avenue, 10 units Cedar Street, 34 units Jennifer, and 12 units Water Street East. Developers are stopping in and speaking to staff for assistance with their proposed projects for this year. And now is still also a great time for our citizens to ask for assistance with their projects that they may still have planned for this fall. So it doesn't matter whether you want to build a hotel or a deck we're here to help, and thank you to Director Aaron McDonald for preparing the report this evening.
Thank you, Councillor Duran. With that, we will adjourn our council meeting for whatever the day is, September 16th, 2024, and I need a ride home. I need to drive